Hey, Kass
Hey,
Thomas.
baby. Hello, Dr. Glenna
Hi. I
Rice.
just adore you.
Yes.
We're doing a quick Zoom to just give a tool out, a tool for bodies. I mean, Kass and
Mm.
I are both access facilitators forever and body class facilitators. I think if you combine our years, we got 23 years as 3D body class facilitators on the planet. And we teach a lot. So we got a lot of body awareness and magic. And we've worked with hundreds and like thousands of people in our classes. And so the tool
Wow, 1,000 people in one class. It's gonna be better. You
over
know,
the
I was at a foundation, the Global Foundation in right before the pandemic period uh, uh, in Brazil, and there were over 2,000 people
Ooh, yeah,
live and over 1,000, online. So
that is
how
fun.
amazing is that?
We
It
were
was
we were
really
there back in the day when it was like a class with the founders Gary and Dane, Dr. Dane here and Gary Douglas with 50 people, and we're like, oh my gosh, it's such a big class.
exactly, exactly. With the first translation, Spanish, Turkish, and Italian. Yeah.
Yeah, and you were one of those first translators. I loved when you translated Gary and Dane. Oh my gosh, yeah, you'd be so animated and you'd be speaking Italian, and it would be so fun. It was so delightful.
Exactly.
You're so
And yeah, and who does it, how is it that you can actually pick up on what someone else is communicating and what their body's communicating, right? And
Oh
we have a
yeah,
tool for that.
we have a tool for that. Yeah, and you translated me, and it was so. I mean, you're still one of my greatest translators, and I've had so many good translators over the years. There was just a joy, and now when
Yes.
we teach together, there's a joy. Yeah,
Yeah, I
I like
heard
you and your body.
the transliteration, that we have also with bodies, communicating what's going on with bodies too, and what people are, the energy that their words have behind them when you're translating. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. So I was thinking, like just a tool, just a gift for a body tool, just for bodies, for your body, your beautiful bodies out there. And the like, this really old school, simple tool we've had around for ages that,
Yes.
that never gets old, that is always so good.
Were you at the CF training when there was this facilitator from Brazil who had been using the tool and with a song? Who, who does it belong to? Who does it belong to?
Um, yeah, I was not at that class, but I do know that. What does it belong to? What does that even mean? When you
Yeah.
use that tool, you're asking a question? You got some awareness, you got some crazy thing, some crazy emotion or feeling or pain in your body, something that just isn't working for you in this 10 seconds. And you can ask, who does it belong to? And if it changes at all,
Exactly.
if it changes at all, it's not actually yours.
And the millisecond after you ask it, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean, be aware of what's going on. What are you asking that question about? What's
Yeah.
going on, physically in the body, emotionally in the body, or in the head, or in the,
Yeah.
mind, and just be aware of it. Okay, okay. So truth, who does this belong to?
Yeah, and truth makes it a little bit more potent when you ask, especially if you're a person like I was when I first started using these tools, like a little bit like, this doesn't make, of course it's mine. Like, what? I'm psychic? I don't know I'm psychic. I never heard of that in my life. No one ever told me I was so psychic, Cass. I just,
Exactly.
I just did everything in my life to make sure I wasn't aware of how psychic I was.
Yeah, yeah.
Kept myself busy, overworked, believed pain was always the real thing it was supposed to be as a medical professional, So I talked myself out of my psychic potential and possibilities most of my life. I'm sure you never
Wow.
did anything like that.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I open with the tools in the foundation. What is this? What do I do with it? Can I, yeah, change it? If so, how can I change it? I know that's a different tool, but what is this? If nothing, if you're like, no answer, I ain't got no answer, right? If that shows up, it's like, okay, so truth, who does it belong to? Is it
Yeah.
mine? Is it mine?
Or someone
And you
else's.
know what? Yeah. and your daughter when she was a child or looked like a child.
Which one? I got two. I got two.
Yeah, yeah, the little one, yeah,
Yeah.
when the youngest one, when she was like, "Yeah, how does this belong to? I don't get it." And you were like to her, "Well, where do we? Well, just ask. Is it mine?" So
Yeah.
it's a different way of asking
With her,
starting it. Yeah.
it was with her. It was, is this yours or someone else's?
Mm,
Yours or someone else's? The who does it belong to? She was 3 when I started asking her. She's 18 now. She's a big girl.
I know.
Um, and she was starting to do what we called OCD things in this reality, but more obsessive compulsive creator, which she still has little bits of that is part of who she bees and its talents and abilities for her. But I saw stuff when she was 3, and I had this, I think I'd been in my first class, access class, maybe 2 years before that. And I was like, wow, she's picking up lots of stuff from everyone around her. And she's doing things like stacking blocks and looking at baby dolls with blankets on them and getting frustrated they weren't flat, that are things you do to block awareness, to get those
Exactly.
things, busy, making yourself busy, doing OCD things to stop that psychic capacities of magic she had. So I just would say to her all, like, is it yours or someone else's? Not looking for an answer. She was 3. She wasn't giving me, Mom, it's Joe's. She wasn't doing stuff like that. But slowly it started to change for her. And I know those using that when she was 3, the way I did for about maybe 3 or 4 months, just when I saw her doing something to yours or someone else's, real quiet, be in that energy, not expecting anything out of her or any response. I saw this start to mellow for her, and she could step into the more of the ability she had. And she had psychic ability. She'd say, "Mom, so and so's coming over," and they'd knock at my door.
And
And I'd
how
be
many
like,
of us exactly have that psychic ability? So really, is it mine or is it someone else's or is it something else's? And when the moment you ask that, right? Is it mine? Is it someone else's? Is it something else's? You actually get that, wow, when this shows up in my life, whatever I'm asking this question about, I get a little excited.
yeah.
I get excited. I'm like, ooh, yeah, I'm gonna ask
I
that
love
question.
that because there's so many people that I'll talk to in classes and that are like, think this is a bad thing. That they're picking up awareness around them all the time, that it's somehow uncomfortable and awful for their bodies, and they don't like, and it's like, I'm the same, like, I get like, oh my God, that's not mine. That's so cool. I'm just aware of this. I
Yeah,
found it fascinating, exciting, and I wanted more and more and more of it, to be more aware of what I was aware of.
and also to recognize how your awareness shows up, which was different for everyone, all the time. So when you get that, oh, I'm about to ask, is this mine? But before I do, let me have an awareness of how this is showing up, even if it is mine, right? Which
Yeah.
is, 99.999% of the time, probably it's not,
Yeah.
with our, with the capacity of our body to have that sensorial organisms, that those
Yeah.
antennas that pick up on everything.
Say more about that. Our this sensorial, like, what is
Sensorial organisms, it's like these antennas that, not only what's going on in your life, in your house, in your city, in your country, around the world, and maybe
yeah.
beyond, and maybe beyond. So is it mine? Is it someone else's? Or is it something else's? And that something else usually has to do with beyond. You don't have to figure it out,
No.
because once you've asked that, truth hasn't gone away. Whatever it is you're asking it about,
Or
it's
you
like,
get more clarity on where else to ask questions. You just it starts to open up a little crack so you can change something, have more
absolutely.
awareness or more information. It's just a gift. Who does it belong to is just a gift. Gift.
Gift number one. We're going to do gift number two. So,
I had like one of the moments, and maybe you have a really cool story about this one early on, about having, like, getting this, like getting like, oh my gosh, I'm perceiving stuff that's actually not mine. It's something outside of me that my body is giving me information about. And it's so silly that I love the story. We were babysitting a bunny rabbit, right? A cute little bunny rabbit. And I just remembered it because I saw a picture from back when it was like, my kids were like 5 and 11. So, and I was like, that's that bunny that changed my world. This bunny changed my world. So I get up in the morning to go make my coffee, and kind of forgotten we had this bunny in a cage in my kitchen. We had it for like 3 days. Walked into the kitchen and just panicked. I panicked. Like all the fight, flight, everything just showed up. My body was like in total ah! And like that Monty Python movie that people may have seen, the bunny with the big sharp teeth. I don't know if you ever watched that one. Some people may know what I'm talking about. Um, Terror from a bunny. And I knew how ridiculous it was, which was helpful in me asking the question. I'm like, oh my God, is this the bunnies? Who does this belong to? And it just went away. It was just gone. It's kind of weird. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what the bunny was scared of me walking into the kitchen.
Oh
And
my
I
goodness.
perceived it physiologically completely in my body. And it wasn't mine. But it was so intense how aware my body was of what the bunny was being. And the bunny wasn't being in terror. The bunny was being what bunnies do. Like they jump into holes when people walk in kitchens. He didn't have a hole, he was in a cage. Um, it was so life changing about what my body was and what it could
Right.
pick up. I remember
Right.
thinking, wow, if you were a hunter in the old days and you knew that
Think,
awareness was an animal, you could be a really good hunter or you could get away from things when it was that, like, it was awareness and information. It had nothing to do with being afraid. It was like, how do I get out of this? How do I make sure the big person that didn't walk in my kitchen doesn't eat me? But I perceived the bunny's body and being and what it was putting out,
right.
which
I
is,
like when you said I was babysitting a bunny
yeah.
or sitting on the buns. I just that's what came up for me.
But I guess my
And
thing
I
is,
think I remember when you were babysitting bunnies. I think I remember in the kitchen. I
this
think I've
one,
seen it.
yeah, I've told the story before, but the
Well, no, I
thing,
think I've actually seen it with some. I don't know how long ago it was. Were your
it
kids
was
there?
like probably over 10
Oh
years ago.
yeah. Oh,
It
of
was a
course.
while
Yeah.
ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was
Yeah.
that moment when I went, it really isn't mine. My body
Right.
is amazing that it can give me this information.
And if you want me to add a quick
Please,
story,
please. Yeah.
well, and when we're saying that, when you were talking about asking your daughter,
Yeah.
is it yours? Is it, and really having the awareness that it wasn't hers, but inviting her to get it. Just today, I always give examples of today. Every day is an extraordinary day. I was in the church at a funeral for a mom of a friend of mine. She was 94 and really was trying to go for a while, and finally was able to go. And there was a little baby sitting behind me, and at a certain point, she started crying, and I asked energetically, "So, truth, is that yours?" But immediately we go into, "Oh no, the baby's crying, and we're in and then I said, "Wait a minute, baby, is that yours?" And I got a no. And I said, "The mom that's whose funeral it is, are you communicating? Are you connected with her?" And I said, "Okay, baby, expand." 10 seconds of all of this conversation,
Changed
and
it.
baby immediately stopped. You know,
Gift. This is a
if
gift.
you, yes, if you have children, and before going into reaction about what's going on with them, or even your partners, or even anyone,
Yeah.
ask, even without asking them, ask, is it yours? Is it someone else's? And what energy can we be, you know what I mean, to give them more space so that they don't have to think it's
Be
theirs.
impacted by their body the same way. And that's what I'd really like to, like, because we've been working with bodies so intimately, intensely for so long. Like this who did it belong to is there's your body is a huge part of that question. When I that my silly bunny story, physiologically, I was doing fight and flight stuff. My, heart rate went up. I went and gasped. I jumped back. It was my body that was showing me, and the baby's body was showing all of you in that church something that it was
Oh
aware
yeah.
of, but he
Oh
couldn't
yeah.
tell you. Like
And,
so,
and before people go into reaction to something, what contribution can you be, right,
yeah,
for the space to
yeah.
to
Because I
say,
mean, if you don't, when this tool is not available, like the baby would cry more. Everyone would be freaking out. They'd pick up the baby would pick that up too and go, "Oh my God!" The mother, I know. I've been in those airplanes and restaurants, and the baby starts crying, and you start to get, "Oh my gosh, people are going to get angry with me," and then you pick up the people that are being that, and you're impacted, and your body starts to go more into down into that rabbit hole versus what you just showed this beautiful space of who does it belong to.
who? Who does it belong to? Who does it belong to? Okay, let's do another one another time.
Yes, for
I
sure.
don't
You
know if
have
we did our 10 minutes. It's only supposed to be 10 minutes, but
we couldn't do
that's
that.
great.
We couldn't. We
Yeah,
couldn't do
yeah.
just 10 minutes. Okay.
Right.
All right. You have a
Yeah.
beautiful dinner there in Italy. I'm going to enjoy the
Thank you.
food.
Grazie, bella. Grazie.
Grazie mille. Mwah. Ciao,
And
Bella.
you have a beautiful breakfast in LA.
Yes. Yes.
And I'll
Adore
see you
you.
soon. Ciao, amore. Ciao.